Ella Sogomonian is here to show us one of the ways that members of the Ohlone tribe are doing just that. Good evening, Ella.
Grant and Catherine, this is a thrilling moment in time for the East Bay Ohlone people, and I will explain in just a minute why. That's because generations ago, colonizers arrived to their shores and forced local tribes into missions and then forbid them to speak their native tongue. But in recent years, they've felt that it is finally both safe and important to do so once more.
Exactly. You all get it perfect.
That is the sound of a Native American language believed to have been long forgotten. Chochenyo was archived in the 1920s by linguist John Peabody Harrington. He was the first known person to put the sounds on paper in written form with the help of this woman, Maria de Los Angeles Colo, who is said to be one of the last fluent speakers. That's because two waves of colonizers infiltrated the Northern California coast and forced Indigenous people to abandon their way of living and speaking. First the Spanish in 1776, then the Mexican nearly 1 century later. Despite occupation, abuse, and suppression, these are not people of the past, but the present, who still flourish on their homeland, although called by a different name. Now known as Berkeley, that is where Vincent Medina and his partner Luis Trevino have been dedicating more than the last decade of their lives to reawakening the ways of their ancestors through both food and language. The duo is empowering their community by bringing back traditional Ohlone cuisine, like these quail eggs cooked with rosehip and elderberry at their restaurant, Makamham. Once linguistic students themselves at UC Berkeley, Medina and Trevino are now teaching weekly classes in Chochenyo and another of 8 Ohlone languages called Rumsen.
Every week we always feel, both Vince and I, we talk about this afterwards, regardless of like all the things that have been happening in the world and what that can feel like. At the end of language class, you always just feel so warm and so satisfied and happy.
We have a responsibility to those people that we come from to make sure that their sacrifices are never in vain, to make sure that we live up to those expectations that they have for us, and that we help make the future brighter for the generations that are coming.
And the next generation has arrived, ready to learn alongside people of all ages who are meeting online for a 73rd consecutive week to study. Their student CORINA ARELLANO felt compelled to connect with her roots when expecting her firstborn son. He made his way into the world at the peak of the pandemic, so she named him a word in Chochenyo which means strength.
For my ancestors, the fact that our language hasn't been spoken fluently for so long, for us to be able to bring it back is huge. Such a big step to reclaiming our culture back.
Their youngest pupil has been practicing newly learned words with her friends in 4th grade class.
First, I came out to be just like a little kid, and now I'm a girl who's a part of this culture who can actually learn a ton of words in Chochenyo that not most people know. That's a part of what I do, and I feel proud of it.
Another student explains that learning their language is a way to pay respect to their elders who endured danger they no longer face.
Some people don't realize that some of our elders, our ancestors, literally had the language beat out of them. And this is our way to make them proud by making sure that we keep our language alive.
Medina explains reviving Indigenous languages is rewarding because it connects them with an identity. Both educators say their efforts are repaid with a newfound sense of hope and a sign that the resilient East Bay Ohlone are alive and well.
Truthfully, a brighter day is coming.
And Medina tells me the biggest compliment came from his elders, who let him know that his pronunciation is just as they remember when their parents spoke to them. And that really does say a lot, because Chochenyo, for example, wasn't well recorded as mentioned. So he's just really working with written notes and has to sound out those words on his own. And Catherine and Grant, on top of it all, Medina and Trevino are also now tasked with creating new words to catch up with modern times. For example, like computer, which they coined the term computes.
No, that's pretty close. That's actually very interesting.
Yeah, that whole story was fascinating.
Yeah.
And computes is easy to remember if you know. No, thank you for bringing that to us, especially today. Appreciate it.